Hello, welcome back to my channel, Lindsey Doe. Listen closely. Her hands made the decision before her mouth was allowed to. There's a reason she didn't say anything. Saying something would have meant taking responsibility for wanting it. So instead, her hands did what her voice couldn't. They told you, quietly and completely, without a single word that could be used against her later. And you stood there, analyzing the conversation, waiting for a sign that sounded like permission. You keep waiting for certainty that biology never provides. Here's the quiet frustration underneath this entire topic. You've been in the moment. You felt the air change. You knew somewhere underneath the noise of overthinking that something was right there waiting to happen. And then you didn't move because you wanted one more piece of evidence, one more sign clear enough that acting on it would feel risk-free. That evidence never came. It never does. Because attraction in the moment before a first kiss doesn't operate in clear declarative sentences. It operates in micro movements, in nervous energy redirected through the hands, and a body trying to manage a feeling too big for the moment it's stuck inside. You've walked away from rooms knowing, genuinely knowing in your gut that you missed something. And the replay afterward is brutal because you can see it so clearly in hindsight. She wanted you to close that distance, and instead you both went home separately, slightly disappointed in a way neither of you could explain to anyone else. This ends today. We're naming the exact hand behaviors that mean the window is open, what's happening underneath each one psychologically, and why hesitation in this specific window doesn't preserve the moment, it kills it. 1. Why hands become the confession booth of attraction. Start with the mechanism, because once you understand it, you'll never unsee it. In moments of high emotional and physical charge, the kind that build right before a kiss, the body has to do something with the surge of nervous energy that arousal and anticipation create. The face is too monitored. People have spent a lifetime learning to control their expressions in public. The voice is too risky. Words can be quoted back, regretted, used as evidence of feelings she might not be ready to claim out loud. The hands are neither. Nobody is taught to control their hands the way they're taught to control their face. So in moments of genuine tension, the hands become the place where the nervous system discharges what it can't put anywhere else. This is why watching her hands in these moments tells you more truth than watching her face or listening to her words combined. 2. Signal 1. She holds something and holds it too long. Watch for this specifically. A drink, a napkin, the strap of her bag, anything within reach. In an ordinary moment, people pick things up, use them, and set them down with unremarkable timing. In a charged moment, she holds onto the object longer than its function requires. Her fingers stay wrapped around the glass after she's finished drinking from it. She keeps turning the same napkin over and over without using it for anything. She holds her own bag strap against her chest like it's something she needs to manage a feeling with. This isn't nervous fidgeting in the dismissive sense people usually mean. It's displaced touch. Her hands need something to hold because what they actually want to hold is you, and that want hasn't found a way to become acceptable yet. The object becomes a stand-in, a place to put the energy until it's given permission to go where it actually wants to go. When you notice this, you're noticing a body that has more feeling in it than the conversation is currently allowing her to express. 3. Signal 2. Her hands drift toward the space between you. There's a specific moment worth watching for on a table, a couch, anywhere two people are seated close together. Watch the literal physical territory between your hand and hers. If that gap keeps shrinking, not because you moved, but because her hand drifted, rested, repositioned itself slightly closer each time she shifted, that drift is not accidental. The body doesn't randomly migrate toward someone it wants distance from. It migrates toward what it wants to be near. And here's the part men miss. She's not going to close that final inch herself, not usually. Crossing the remaining space requires a level of explicit initiation that feels too exposed for most people in this specific moment. She'll bring her hand to the edge of the available territory and then stop and wait, without admitting she's waiting, to see if you'll cross the rest of it. That stopped, hovering hand at the edge of contact is one of the clearest invitations that exists. It is not subtle once you know to look for it. It's subtle only to someone who isn't looking. 4. Signal 3. She touches her own mouth while looking at yours. This one carries weight beyond almost anything else on this list. If during a conversation that's already charged, she brings a finger or knuckle briefly to her own lips and her eyes, even for a half second, drop to your mouth while she does it, that combination is about as direct a signal as the body produces without actual words. The psychology here is straightforward. Attention goes where desire goes. If her gaze is tracking your mouth, some part of her is already imagining what's about to happen there. And touching her own lips in that same window is the nervous system rehearsing the sensation it's anticipating. This is not a moment for analysis. This is the moment the entire video has been building toward. If this happens and you let the conversation continue past it untouched, you're not being respectful, you're being absent. 5. Signal 4. Her hands stop performing entirely. Earlier signals were about movement, reaching, drifting, holding too long. This one is about the opposite. total stillness. Watch for the moment her hands simply quiet down. Whatever gesturing she was doing through the conversation, punctuating her sentences, touching her hair, adjusting her clothes, abruptly stops. Her hands rest, open, unoccupied, close to you, and do nothing else. This still moment is the body holding its breath. It happens when the nervous system has stopped distracting itself because something real is about to happen and any further movement would interrupt it. Stillness here isn't boredom or disengagement. It's the opposite. It's a body so focused on the present moment that it stopped doing anything unrelated to it. If you've been talking and the conversation naturally runs out of urgency and her hands go quiet like this, that quiet is an opening, not a lull. Don't fill it with more words. Fill it with the thing the silence is actually asking for. 6. Why men talk their way past the window. This is worth addressing honestly because it's the single most common way this entire opportunity gets wasted. Men are taught, culturally, that connection is built through conversation. So when a charged silence arrives, exactly the silence we just described, the instinct is to fill it, to say something funny, to ask another question, to keep the momentum of talking going because talking feels like the thing that's been working. But by the time her hands have gone still and her gaze has dropped to your mouth, conversation has already done its job. It built the trust and chemistry that got you here. Continuing to rely on it now is using the wrong tool for the moment you're in. The window that opens in this stillness is not asking for more words. It's asking you to close the physical distance with the same confidence you used to build the emotional one. 7. The cost of misreading hesitation as respect. Some men hold back in these moments because they've internalized hesitation as the respectful choice. Better to wait for unmistakable certainty than risk overstepping. This instinct is good in principle and disastrous in this specific application because what actually happens when you hold back here is not received as respect, it's received as absence. She took a real risk getting her body to this place of openness. Every signal we've covered required her to lower a guard that exists for good reason. When that risk is met with nothing, what she learns is that the vulnerability cost her something and gained her nothing. Respect in this moment doesn't look like waiting longer. It looks like moving with care at the pace the moment has already set toward what both your bodies have been building toward for the last several minutes. 8. What moving looks like when the signals are present. You don't need a dramatic gesture. What works is almost always smaller than what men imagine. Slow your own movements to match the stillness you're observing in her. Let your eyes hold hers a beat longer than the conversation requires. Close the remaining distance gradually rather than suddenly. A few inches, then a pause, then the rest, giving her every opportunity to either meet you the rest of the way or, if you've misread something, to redirect without it becoming awkward. If the signals were real, she will not need convincing. The lean will meet you. The hesitation you've been carrying the entire conversation dissolves the instant you act instead of continuing to analyze. 9. What it means if the signals aren't there. This needs to be said plainly so this video doesn't become a license to misread ambiguity as certainty. If her hands stay busy, if she maintains a consistent physical distance regardless of how the conversation is going, if her gaze never drops and her hands never quiet, those are real signals too, just pointing the other direction. Respecting those signals matters exactly as much as acting on the ones we've described tonight. The entire value of learning this language is being able to read it accurately in both directions, toward yes and toward not yet. A man who can only see invitation, whether or not it's present, hasn't actually learned anything from this video. He's just found a new justification for ignoring what the body is actually saying. 10. The deeper reason this moment matters so much to her. One last layer before we close because it changes how you'll carry this information. For her, the moment of being read correctly, of having someone notice the quiet, unspoken signals she couldn't bring herself to say out loud, is itself a profound experience of being understood. It's not just about the kiss. It's about discovering that you were paying close enough attention to catch what she was too nervous to declare directly. That experience of being truly seen, in a moment of vulnerability she didn't have to verbalize, is often what people remember longest about a first kiss, far more than the kiss itself. The kiss is the result. The attention that preceded it is the actual gift. She wasn't asking you to be bold. She was asking you to notice. Every signal in this video, the held object, the drifting hand, the touched lips, the sudden stillness, was her body doing the only honest thing it knew how to do in a moment too vulnerable for words. You don't need a script for what comes next. You need the willingness to actually see what's happening in front of you and the courage to trust it enough to act before the moment closes on its own. She already told you. The only question left is whether you were listening. If this gave you a clearer way to read the moments that actually matter, subscribe. Every week on this channel, we go deeper into the psychology of attraction, connection, and the unspoken signals that shape how people actually fall for each other. You're paying attention. That already puts you ahead of almost everyone.